have one of those great conversations with an AI? I mean, it's detailed, it gets you, the whole thing, only to come back the next day and find it's forgotten everything? It is so common. But you know what? It's not a bug. It's actually a core part of how these models are designed. So today, let's pull back the curtain and look at the fascinating engineering that separates a simple chatbot from a truly personal AI assistant, one that can actually remember who you are. It's happened to all of us, right? You spend all this time explaining your project, your preferences, your goals, and the AI totally gets it. It's perfect. But the next time you open a chat, boom, it's a clean slate. The AI has absolutely no clue who you are or what you talked about. So what gives? Why does this happen? Well, the reason for this is actually pretty fundamental. Large language models are, by their very nature, stateless. Now, what does that mean? It means their entire awareness of the world is limited to the specific info you give them in one single interaction. Once that interaction is over, poof, it's gone. They don't have some built-in diary of your past conversations. So, how do developers get around this massive limitation? The answer is this really cool discipline called context engineering. You can think of it as the art of deliberately giving the AI all the right information it needs, right when it needs it, to create the illusion of a continuous ongoing conversation. So here's the more formal definition. It's all about dynamically, on the fly, building the perfect prompt for the AI. And this goes way, way beyond just the question you typed. It means pulling in your user history, maybe some external data, the recent chat logs, all to create the perfect context for every single response. And I absolutely love this analogy because it just clicks. Think of a chef. A great chef doesn't just start throwing things in a pan. No, first they do their mise en place, they gather everything, they chop it, they organize every single ingredient. Context engineering is exactly that, but for an AI. It's the prep work to make sure it has all the best ingredients ready to cook up a brilliant response for you. And what are these ingredients? Well, it's a whole mix of things. It can be high-level instructions about the AI's personality, it can be long-term memories it has about you, facts it pulls from documents, the recent back and forth from your conversation, and of course the prompt you just typed. It's a complex recipe, and it's put together from scratch every single time you hit enter. Okay, so let's start breaking down that recipe. The first key ingredient, the one that handles the immediate, active conversation, is something called a session. And the best way to think about it is as the AI's workbench. A session is basically a container for one specific chat. That's it. It holds the turn-by-turn history of your talk and any little temporary notes the AI needs, like keeping track of items in your shopping cart. But the key thing here, it's all temporary. It's only for this one interaction. And this is the absolute key difference we need to get our heads around. Sessions versus memory. The session is that messy workbench. You've got all your tools out, notes are everywhere. It's for the project you're working on right now. It's active, it's immediate. Memory, on the other hand, and we'll get to this in a minute, that's the clean, organized filing cabinet where you only store the important final documents for later. But okay, there's a problem. As a conversation gets longer and longer, that workbench gets incredibly crowded. And this leads to some very real issues. It costs more money to send a giant conversation history back to the model every single time. It makes the AI slower. And it can even cause something called context rot, which is where the model just gets confused by all the noise and loses focus. So the engineering solution for this is something called history compaction. And it's basically a bunch of clever tricks. It can be as simple as, hey, let's just remember the last 10 things we talked about. Or it can be super sophisticated, like using another AI to summarize the early parts of the chat. The whole goal is to keep that workbench tidy and efficient. All right, so that's the workbench. But what about that filing cabinet? Now, let's talk about the long-term solution, memory. This is the magic that lets an AI actually remember you across days, weeks, even months. And a real memory system unlocks some incredible stuff. This is how an AI remembers your favorite sports team for personalization. It's an amazing way to manage long conversations by just boiling them down to the key facts. And it can even help an agent learn from its own successes and failures, so it actually gets better over time. Now, here is a really, really important distinction. This is something people get mixed up all the time. An agent's memory is often confused with a technology called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. But they are designed to solve two completely different problems. And the difference is actually super simple, but really powerful. Memory's goal is to make the agent an expert on you. RAG's goal is to make it an expert on external facts. This analogy is perfect. A memory manager is your personal assistant who knows your preferences. A RAG engine is a research librarian who goes and looks up public information in a book. A truly great AI needs both. So how does an AI actually create these long-term memories? I mean, it's not just copy-pasting the chat log. It's a really cool, automated process of turning all that messy conversational noise into clean, structured knowledge. It pretty much works like a four-stage pipeline. First, the raw conversation gets ingested. Then, another LLM acts like a filter, extracting only the important, meaningful bits of information. Third, and this is the really clever part, the system consolidates this new info with old memories, merging duplicates and even deleting facts that aren't true anymore. And finally, that curated memory gets stored away for the future. And the best part for you, the user, is that this entire complex pipeline runs asynchronously. What that means is it all happens in the background, totally separate from your active chat. So the agent can create these super detailed memories about you without ever making you wait for a response. It's seamless. Okay, let's tie this all together. We've talked about the messy workbench of sessions and the organized filing cabinet of memory. So why is this separation so critical? Why does it all matter? Because it takes two. Simple as that. It is the combination of these two distinct systems, one for the immediate now and one for the persistent forever, that transforms a stateless tool into a genuinely helpful and personal assistant. You need both. Think of it like this. The session is the reason the AI can understand when you say something like, okay, what about that second option? It's holding that short-term context. And memory, well, that's the reason it can greet you next month and ask if you're excited for your favorite team's upcoming season. And that's really the bottom line. This interplay, this dance between temporary sessions and persistent memory, that is the hidden engineering that creates the experience of a personal AI. It's the magic that makes this technology feel like it actually knows you. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating final question to chew on. As this technology gets better and better, the real challenge might not be about remembering, but about forgetting. If an AI can build a perfect, persistent memory of you, what are the things we should explicitly design it to let go of? It's something we're all going to have to think about as these systems become a bigger and bigger part of our lives.